crazy. Boom, boom, ain't it great to be nuts? Silly and foolish all the day long. Boom, boom, ain't it great to be crazy?
Hi again, everyone. Engineer Pat 5290 coming to you with a product review. The first one of these I've done in a while, and we're going to be reviewing a locomotive that has been in my collection for almost 2 years now. It's been a really good runner on my layout, and it looks really, really awesome. Today we're going to be reviewing and running the Santa Fe C44-9W number 628 by Scale Trains Rivet Counter. Briefly, let's go over some stats and figures of the -9W. The -9W was a very popular locomotive, not only with rail fans and model railroaders, but it was also GE's popular locomotive among the railroads. The -9W is a 4,400 horsepower diesel-electric locomotive that was produced by GE's Erie plant between 1993 and 2004. This was an 11-year run that GE did. It was a very successful 11-year run. It was powered by GE's 7 FDL 16 prime mover with a fuel capacity of 5,000 gallons with a maximum speed of 74 miles an hour. So these babies had a lot of fuel and a lot of speed capacity. And almost every railroad that you could think of bought these locomotives here in North America. And these were built for coal service, intermodal service, and every service you can think of in between. Some of the buyers, Santa Fe ordered 100 of these. Norfolk Southern ordered 1,090. BNSF being the largest buyer at 1,697. A few other ones to note, BC Rail ordered 14 of those locomotives. Chicago and Northwestern ordered 130. UP ordered 40 of them. And CSX, some people forget that CSX has -9s. They got the pre-production -9s that were built between 1992 and 93. Those were built on -AW car bodies. That was an experiment of what GE currently had. When they came out with the -9W, that was a completely new locomotive. So that was the 4,000 horsepower variant. Santa Fe and some of the other people bought the C44-9W variant, which was the 4,400 horsepower. In North America, a total of 3,773 locomotives were produced by GE for the -9W for American railroads. And a lot of these are still in service today. But many of them have been rebuilt to AC traction, with the study of AC current, alternating current, being more efficient and more reliable. A lot of the railroads have begun to rebuild these -9s. Norfolk Southern has the C6M program. Canadian National and Union Pacific have C6M programs. BNSF actually rebuilt 20 of these ex-Santa Fe -9Ws to a C44 C4M. But there are a bunch of these locomotives that still wear the Santa Fe war bonnet paint scheme, and 628 happens to be one of them. And it is still in service today on BNSF. The real 628 was built in February of 1994, and it is still rolling today under BNSF ownership. So there are some -9s that are still active in service today, but in some cases there are not as many as they used to be, as so many are being rebuilt. So get your photos while you can of these babies. But the -9Ws were very popular with railroads, and they continue to be. As a matter of fact, I'm proud to say I remember when the 9900 series Norfolk Southern -9s rolled off the assembly line at GE's Erie plant. I remember when those had primer paint. I can remember those to this day, and it was really cool to see. And with the -9W being very successful, GE replaced the -9W with the first ever ES44DC, which came into effect on January 1st, 2005. And that was the upgraded version of the -9W with the beginning of the GE Evolution series, which that series is still ongoing today with the ES44AC and with the ET44AC. The ET44AC will be a future review later on. So with the few stats and figures on the -9W itself and some of the buyers and how it was popular among the railroads, let's talk about Scale Trains' rendition of this handsome model. I fell in love with this thing the day it came home. And I'm very, very happy for the way Scale Trains did this. This is your overall construction of an N-scale locomotive. It's a plastic body. And I'm going to start at the front and work my way up. And as you can see, I'll bring the locomotive up here and I'll zoom in for you where you can take a look. The front plow is nicely done with some air hoses that have the gray ends painted, which is awesome. A separately applied coupler cut bar and the knuckle coupler right there. And I like the Scale Trains couplers because they don't have the air hoses. So when you're operating this, you don't have to worry about those air hoses getting stuck in switches. The ditch lights are on the bottom, just exactly as the ones that Santa Fe ordered. And this is why I say railroad and road number specifics. So, and we come down the side, the steps are nicely done. The safety tread up here is actually painted red, which I really, really like. The Chris Santa Fe logo on the front, the handrails and the grab irons are nicely done on the cab. Even windshield wipers on the windshield. I'll zoom in a little bit where you can see those. And there's even a cab interior that you can see as well. I'm going to carefully hold this because this is a very, very brittle model. So now we come down the engineer's side of the cab. As you can see here, the Chris 628 is stamped on the side of the locomotive. A GE builder's plate. The trucks are all nicely done with some molded in details. These are the high adhesion trucks. The Chris Santa Fe on the side. And we even have some signage all over the locomotive, which is good. The fuel tank, I cannot get over the fuel tank. The fuel tank is nicely done with two separate air tanks. And it's also separately, some separately painted items are on there too. And even some signage all over the side of the locomotive. And this is on N scale. And I'm very, very pleased with it. So now we come down the back. The 620 is stamped right in the middle of the long hood forward end. That's the way it was with just about every single Santa Fe locomotive. Grab irons are separately applied. The back plow is nicely done with another cut bar. Almost identical to the front, which is minus the ditch lights. We come up to the top. The radiator is nicely done. And if you look here on top of the locomotive, and I'll zoom in really quick, there's even some signage on the top. It's very, very interesting right there, and you can actually read this under a magnifying glass. Separately applied horn and separately applied smokestack. The roof, not much going on here, with just a couple of antennas. And we come down to the conductor side. Almost identical to the engineer side, more of the same. And the windows are nicely done on the cab as well, too, just like a traditional GE locomotive. The radiator fans are nicely done, separately applied brake wheel as well. And even you have a separately applied bell. Now we come back to the front of the locomotive. I just want to show you one of my favorite aspects is that little window right there on the cab. I know it is a GE thing, and it still is. I know it's a GE thing, but that little window right there on the door right there is pretty cool. It makes that locomotive stand out on the front. And the good thing about the front, it is railroad specific. And I can't stop saying that word, is railroad specific details. And I absolutely love it. So, like I even said, the cab is nicely done. The windshield is nicely done. And the more you can find on this locomotive, the more impressive. Even some more separately priced signs up there. The battery boxes look really good down there. Lots of business going on with this locomotive. Lots of business. And even on the trucks, I didn't mention this earlier, but you've got the brake cylinders that are separately applied to a degree, but it does look nice down there. And just a lot of separately molded in O-rings. And it's just a very handsome model. I just cannot get over this. And Scale Trains has done multiple releases of these locomotives, but they knocked the park out with this release. One last look around the locomotive. The paint job is fantastic. The paint job on this locomotive is absolutely flawless, and Scale Trains knocked this one out of the park. And this is my favorite scheme of the older railroads. And I'm really glad to still see some Santa Fe equipment still out there on the rails today. Since this engine does not have sound, it's DCC ready. I run DC with my stuff. So the best feature of the engine, railroad specifics. Railroad specifics, because when the railroads bought the Dash 9 and every locomotive, they wanted different aspects on their Dash 9s. For example, the lower headlight position on the nose. The ditch lights were a requirement when these engines were built. Anything built after 1994 had to have the ditch lights on the front. Because if you're going through a railroad crossing at track speed, you need to have those lights. That is an FRA requirement. And that requirement is still in effect today. So, for Santa Fe, they got the newest requirement on these locomotives at the time, and those ditch lights are still in place. And the lower headlight position for better visibility at night. And that was a Santa Fe requirement on a bunch of their locomotives. So, not every railroad was the same when it came to railroad specifics. Every railroad was different. But, like I said, paint job, flawless. I have to give it to Scale Trains on this one. They knocked this baby out of the park, and you just cannot help looking at a Santa Fe red and silver war bonnet. Every rail fan loves the red and silver war bonnet. One of my personal favorite schemes as a child, and it is still one of my favorites as of today. As mentioned previously, there are a lot of these engines that are being rebuilt to AC traction. When BNSF rebuilt 20 of these engines to AC44 C4Ms, a common question is asked, what does the 4 mean in C4M? The 4 means the middle axles are not powered. They are freewheeling, like ES44 C4s that are on BNSF and Florida East Coast. The middle axles are not powered. Now, AC44 C6Ms, like on Norfolk Southern, all 6 axles are powered. The advantages for having 6 axles, it gives it a little bit more tractive effort going up hills. But when Santa Fe ran these locomotives, and same with BNSF, they ran a bunch of them through the flat desert, like in Texas and some of the areas of desert. You really don't need a lot of axles powered. You just need a few axles powered. So when you're going up and down, let's say Cajon Pass and some of them, you need the extra axles to get up and down the steep grades. So that was the BNSF side. And now they have, some more locomotives that are 6-axle powered, that all 6 axles are powered. But the C4Ms, only the middle axles were not powered. And I credit Stephen KC Railfan for providing this information. All right, everyone, we have both the 628 and the 527 in the same lash up, and the flash is on, so we get a little bit better view of the engines, and they're set and ready to go around the layout. I do have some Santa Fe rolling stock present in the lash up tonight, and got a couple of the Santa Fe cars which recently came back into service. So I will come on over to control stand up here, and as Trains with Shane says, let's go ahead and dial up the juice. Well, guys, that pretty much wraps it up for this review of Santa Fe -9 628. I hope all of you enjoyed the video and hope you enjoyed the running session. Please remember to like, subscribe, and tap the bell for all future notifications, as many more videos will be coming out in the near future. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you down the main.
Hear that sound of that clickety-clack as they travel along down the railroad track, with the little boxcars being pulled in back and that little puff of smoke coming out the stack. I love toy trains. I love toy trains. I love the way they look and the way they sound, stopping at the stations in every town. I love the way they travel all around and round. That's the reason I love toy trains. I love to hear the sound of that clickety-clack as they travel along down the railroad track, with the little boxcars being pulled in back. That's the